there's really been a lot of progress that David's comments illustrate in the professionalism of our election administration. And I think that should be something we build on. And one way to build on it is to help, election officials do more. A lot of surveys show local election officials among the most trusted sources of information at the local level. Other surveys show election officials want to do more voter education, don't have the resources or the capabilities to do so. There should be a lot more funding. This is critical national infrastructure, and it's not funded like critical national infrastructure. There should be more money for election officials, some from the federal level, to support voter education about exactly this kind of dispute resolution side that I mentioned. We need voters to understand how it works, how it happens that a result is determined, and how it happens that that result is confirmed. And so that'd be suggestion one. Suggestion two, also sort of on the election administration side, is the threats that were posed against election officials are outrageous, and we need to elevate that position sort of the way frontline workers were elevated during the pandemic. These are the critical supporters of our most important infrastructure, our democracy. So people are talking about a provision to criminalize harassment and threats of election officials. And I think that's really worth thinking about, on the congressional level or at the state level. I think we need, likewise, this notion of sort of the respect for the institution. Office holders take an oath in which they reference God. Candidates should likewise treat candidacy with a solemnity and respect. Whether that's an oath or what, I'm not sure, but you should not be a candidate for an office if you do not declare your willingness to abide by the rule of law as regards the results of that election, determined by law and by courts. Maybe we can make a candidate oath, can be something to be thought about. Or candidates should be, state provisions that for the filing of candidate papers could include your concession speech. You file your concession speech in advance, so it's clear that you're prepared. And the notion that presidential debates would ask the question, do you intend to accept it's a ridiculous kind of absence of norm there about this is the rule of law at its most essential, and it needs to be respected that way. So those are a couple of things. And then I've mentioned the Electoral Count Act. You guys covered that very well last week, so I won't say more there. But clearly a lot of work needs to be done there. But it looks like there may be progress, and it could well be bipartisan progress there. The last topic I'll touch on was not an issue very much this election. That if we were talking in 2001 about the 2000 election, or 2005 about 2004, we would be talking about the office of the Secretary of State. In both of those elections, one state decided the election. The secretary in that state was a formal member of the presidential campaign of the winning side. And there's a fair amount of evidence that both Katherine Harris and Ken Blackwell put their thumbs on the scale a bit. Not determinative, perhaps, but certainly not the neutral role that, a democracy should expect from its leading state election officials. So, in recent years, many secretaries of state performed tremendously this last election, and many kind of sort of rise above the structural limitations of a position that's inherently partisan, but that's a risk factor. And I think it could increase as a risk factor now that we have candidates for that position who are explicit result deniers and who may well be running elections in swing states in 2024. So over time, I think we need to be thinking about how do we create election leadership that is independent and impartial. And how do we give that election leadership more discretion over the actual implementation of results in a way make state legislatures back off into policy setting and not the kind of micromanagement they've been doing recently.